This is what's going on today. We're doing a brake job on the old Cherokee right here. What ended up happening was that I did my brakes, my rotors and brake pads about 2 days ago, and I've been having some issues with it. Every time I come to a stop and leaving a stop, I hear a ta 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 ta, some sort of a thumping sound. That's the best I can describe it. And I know it's coming from my front end, and it was time to replace my brakes, or pretty soon, because as we all know, at the XJ calipers, they're notorious for warping the rotors. So I changed out the rotors and brake pads, and that went okay. Bled the brakes and everything, they were running fine, except that we're still getting that thumping. So I got out of work today, drove about 25 miles to the house, and I stopped by the auto parts store to get some parts. I've been wanting to change these for a while, or not for a while, but I figured these need to go pretty soon, or this one over here. And I had a $20 gift card. I ended up paying $24 for both front and rear. For left and right rotor calipers, I should say. I'm sorry. So for some reason I can't talk today. So of course, that's not counting the core exchange. I still have to take these old hunks back to the auto parts store, so they won't charge me the core part. But this is what we got going on today. Of course, my setup is a little bit different than stock setup. What ended up happening was that I bought these reconditioned or remanufactured calipers, which they work just fine. They're also tested and whatnot. Make sure they're up to par. So there is a left and a right side, obviously. This is the driver's side. The other one, of course, was the passenger side. And they're two different brands that they came. Even though I bought them both from the Advanced Auto Parts, they gave me two different brands. That one was reading Wherever brand. Let me get you the part number on that. This is the one for the driver's side. Passenger side, I'm sorry. The front passenger side. This is the one, and it comes with caliper. Unloaded. It's got no, and what it means by unloaded means it doesn't have any brake pads, and I didn't need them because I had just bought them 2 days ago. These are the semi-metallic ones, by the way. It came with only one new copper washer. So I'll be, you're not supposed to reuse it, but I'm gonna chance it. I'm gonna take the old one and put it to the top, and this one's gonna get one new washer with the mating surface, which is already installed. Sorry if I can get you focus. The new washer is here, the older one is over here. This one used to be over here because I couldn't get that one to separate. So this one, the Wherever one, came with two new caliper bolts, which is awesome. And it came with one new banjo bolt, which is awesome. And only one copper washer, which was not awesome. But it is what it is. It's on there. It's on there. We still need to bleed it. I did not bleed it with the bench, or bench bleeded, I should say. So real simple. You only need 3 wrenches, even if you're just running a stock setup. Of course, you gotta lift up your vehicle. You got your jacks. You got your jack stands. Throw the tires under the Jeep, just in case. And what you're gonna do is that, or me personally, because I shouldn't say that this is a correct way to do it, So what I did, of course, was that I came back here to where the line comes down and to the rear of the Jeep. I should say to the rear of the Jeep, to the caliper. And we're gonna unbolt it slightly because this is under pressure. It is a hydraulic system. and crack it so slightly, just enough to where you're gonna be able to wrench it off easily and close it back up, because we're not ready to take that off yet. Next thing we're gonna do is, well, that I'm gonna do is take a 12 millimeter. By the way, this was a 9/16. This is a 12 millimeter wrench, caliper bolts, loosen, caliper bolts at the bottom, loosen. These are pretty loose because I was messing with this not too long ago. And you're supposed to use line wrenches. I don't have any line wrenches, but the line wrench that you're supposed to use for the bleeders is a 3/8. We're not going to need that for now. The tool you might want to get, or you might want to have around, is your tool to depress the calipers itself. So this is off and it's loosened. We're going to come over here to our other part number, or to our other caliper, the driver's side. And this is the brand unloaded caliper. This is the driver's side. And this one came with 2 new caliper bolts, 2 new copper washers, but no banjo bolt. So, whatever. We'll deal with it. Let's get to remove. Okay, here we are. We took the little plug that comes with the new caliper and tossed it back here so that it doesn't bleed the brake fluid everywhere. So just gotta do it real quick. Try to have it removed from here before you throw it on, before you take the line completely off. Come over here, you take your banjo bolt, you replace the washers, which all the washers are over there. You gotta have one on each side of the brake, or the end of the brake line. The orientation that I'm choosing for this is gonna be like this, because that's how like this, because I already had them like that with my old calipers. So we're just gonna crank it down. Try not to go crazy on this. It's supposed to be only to hold it. So let's see if I can get you guys to watch it. And again, this is the orientation that I'm going to be using. The caliper's already been depressed or pressed out. You want to make sure that your glides or your slide pins or your pin guides are pushed out. Not a whole lot, because you end up doing this right here where you take it out of the boot. Just push it back a little bit. They don't need to be insanely moved out. Don't let your caliper hang by the brake line. That applies to both stock brake lines and extended brake lines. These are steel brake lines. I'm going to take off the caliper. Now, since I'm here, remember I was telling you guys I was getting a little bit of a burnt smell. This is where it's originating from both sides of the front brake pads. It could be because I applied some of the lubricant that the new brake pads came with. Since these are semi-metallic, I'm assuming they need something special. So these are your assembly. This is the old one with the new brake pads that we're going to be reusing since they're only 2 days old. Pull them out. There is a left and the right side. You can't get these mixed up. Simple. Press it, pull it out. Press it, push it out. It's got these little pins right here that end up attaching to these holes, or lining up to those holes, I should say. So your old caliper with that little plug so it doesn't leak everywhere. New caliper. Line up the little holes and the pin on the brake pad. This only clips to the rear and the center of the caliper, which I probably should have done first. Yeah, this should have been done first. Sorry about that, guys. Watch the orientation. And you slide in. Remember, push your glide pins a little bit further back. You don't have to go too crazy on it. Push them back. This one has two little pins at the bottom. There's a top and a bottom for these, so just watch where they sit on the knuckle. You're gonna bring them in. That's what I'm talking about. It's a little hard to do a little single-handed. So the new caliper is on with the new loaded brake pads and the new rotors. The brake line's been tightened down. We're going to install the new caliper bolts in the rear. And find the little hole where it goes, start them off by hand. So you fidget around with these caliper bolts. I ended up reusing the old ones. I'm going to use the new ones because they have a different type of hex head, so, or a different size, I should say. So I took the opportunity, since these are in, just make sure that you guide these around. They have a little bit of a hard time getting in there because of the knuckle. Sometimes, not all the time. You know, just guide them in there. Push the bushings or the little boot. Push it in and out with the glide pin. And you know, make sure that all that's situated. You don't want to tear your little boots. Lubricate these with some grease. There is some brake grease for these. These ones came greased, so I'm okay with that. This one I cranked it down just a tad bit more. You know, just don't want to go crazy with it, but that's how it is. This all will get situated once the wheels are on. So, you know, they'll apply the correct pressure on it. This is how they're supposed to sit at the knuckle. Sorry, I got a plane overhead. So we're gonna bleed the brakes and put the wheels back on, take it out for a drive and call it a day.